It's Today in EVE Online, Friday, March 6th, 2020. I am Etterall. Well, today we're looking at a big story that's just forming up, started yesterday. Today is the beginning of fighting happening inside of Wormhole that belongs to TDSIN. That's TDSIN. That group is best known for their leader. It's actually one of the larger groups, but they're known for their leader, Izuki, who is on the CSM as well. He is the Wormhole rep, quote unquote. They are under attack by the combined efforts of InnerHell, Hard Knocks, and Laserhawks. Both sides have called friends from nullsec. TDSIN has called Initiative, and Initiative is in there helping them. And as a countermeasure, interestingly, Hard Knocks is called Fraternity. So we'll get into that and what's happened so far in just a minute. We'll also explore some other topics that we're looking into. For now, let's go to the boards and look at what the most violent systems in EVE Online are. This is going to be a quick day here because the most violent systems in all of EVE Online are actually HiSec. The Forge comes in at number 1 with 1,921 ships destroyed. The Citadel, number 2, with 1,730 ships destroyed. And at number 3, Lone Trek, 1,500 ships destroyed. When HiSec is the most destructive area on the board, that means that nullsec is actually pretty quiet, maybe small roaming groups here and there, but there are no major battles. There are a lot of timers, but they seem to be uncontested, therefore ships are not being destroyed, but structures are being destroyed. And we can see that on the next board. Okay, looking at most violent systems. Sorry, we said most violent regions just now with the Forge, Citadel, and Lone Trek. Now we're going to systems. And again, there's not much news here with PF, TAC, and Venal just having 200 ships destroyed. And at number 2, LXQ2 in Ethereum Reach has 177 destroyed. Those are not major fights, and that's in the last 24 hours. LowSec, we have talked about the most violent systems, just to get the stats out. Tama at 523, Flossaswin at 488, and Valerier, that's in Placid, Valerier. I think you have to be Icelandic to say that one. It's not just me this time. Anyway, it's a system VLI in Placid. 150 ships destroyed there. Now, why is Flossaswin in Metropolis showing up? It turns out there is an RP group there that is imagining wars happening on planets, and the Capsuleers are forming to reinforce the on-the-ground combatants. So that's why they're colliding over and over again in that system, which is very interesting. I love the fact they're making up reasons to fight that are fictional. That's much better than just fighting for good fights. That's it's miles better to create some storyline. I think that's really interesting. So we'll try to get the full story on what the conflict is on those planets as these guys go to war, trying to support the planetary fighters. Remember Dust 514, the game that was connected to EVE Online that was a planetary fighter? Kind of wish that wasn't mothballed. Okay, so let's go to timer board real quick. Look at iHubs, right? iHubs, infrastructure hubs. You can see that Deckline iHubs are all timed to be destroyed in the next 20, basically Saturday. And this makes sense because you want to time the destruction of structures to when you have the most amount of people on, and that is the weekend. So all these have been timed so they could be destroyed for this Saturday. It's about 22 hours from now. And these are the remnants of the war that had happened up there where Dead Coalition lost their SOV and essentially imploded and split apart. So that will be Horde and Northern Coalition and Pandemic Legion and maybe some elements of Fraternity taking out those structures. If they're not contested, it may only be Northern Coalition that does that work with maybe some Horde. I'm not sure. But that marks pretty much the ending of Dead Coalition. That war appears to be over. Today I was looking through the big kills, and I just stumbled upon a few minutes ago this in Mela, a Zenitra Dreadnought is destroyed. These are rare and very expensive. The Zenitra was just introduced a few months ago, and it is, I think it's worth way more than, yeah, I guess Dreadnoughts are normally worth 1 to 2 billion. This one's 14 billion, but I'm not even sure that price is right. This thing was completely unfit, or its fits didn't register on this kill mail. So it was either purchased and being moved and destroyed, or there's some bug in the report, or the report itself is bugged, but it looks like it's legitimate. I'll point out that Mela is a system in the Forge that is a very popular system for buying and trading, or at least it was for a long time. There was a Mela Keepstar there, and that's where super capitals were traded. It has good jump range into Horde space. I think Geminate is the neighboring system to Mela, and that gives you quick access into the drone regions. So as far as the northern powers, like again, your Northern Coalition, your Horde, now your Fraternity and your Triple V and PL, all those guys, that would be one of their stations, Mela, where they would trade things, buy things, or that sort of thing. So Zenitra destroyed there. It looks like it was empty, so I don't know. Looks like there was a battleship as well that was destroyed, Lashak. Why is this one? This one has got some fancy modules on it. And these are Abyssal modules, so their price is probably hard to really quantify because each one of those Abyssal style modules is a mutated module, and they're different from one another. They're very unique. So they can have really, really potent characteristics, but there's no way to judge those based on anything except the base module. So you will get something that could be very valuable, look very cheap. And so this 12 billion is really high, but it can even be a lot higher than that. You can see how Gecko drones on there. Those are pretty expensive now. They're 165 million each. And then the Lashek itself is, well, this module here is an armor repair worth 1 billion, but here the Entropic Disintegrator, that's 7 billion. Wow. Don't know if they're all 7. Like, I don't know the price of the, oh, I see, Zoria's. Well, that's the module there that made this thing a huge kill. For sure. Good on you. That was killed in Devoid. That's in the south, near Providence. There's a City of God down there if you ever want to do some sightseeing. All right, I like looking at these small ships when they get destroyed because it tells me they were carrying something, right? The ship itself could never be worth billions, but if it's carrying something important, usually it is blueprints. So these were all capital blueprints, and that's what it lost. So the precious cargo is destroyed. Let's see. Yesterday, we may not have gotten to this yesterday, but a Marshal is destroyed from Legion of X Death. These Marshals are special ships that are black ops. So they have a lot of, they can sneak up and attack, but they're a little weaker than battleships, T2 battleships normally. This one is special because it was given out as, they're limited. They were given out as prizes for attending FanFest. And so the Marshals are very expensive. But this one was also, if I look at it, had some abyssal modules on it, and a lot of, we call this blue modules because they are officer modules, I think. So abyssal and officer, and we can look down here to see the same modules and see what it was. Let's see if there was a big ticket item here. I don't see one. So the ship itself is what's expensive. Yeah, the Marshall goes for about 7 billion. So about 3 billion in modules and this abyssal and officer modules. Okay, so that happened, but that happened yesterday. So don't want to go too far. Yeah, but the big story today, as far as destruction, you have a Zenitra being destroyed in Mela, the Forge region. And you have a Lashek with a 7 or 8 billion ISK module on it. The disintegrator was Zoria's. That's a big kill. And that was killed in Devoid. The system is Nakatre. And then finally, you have somebody. RHP. They're a German. We know them. They're a German. They're a big German alliance that were in Dead Coalition. We've been talking to their leader recently. And this little ship was trying to smuggle capital blueprints, but he was caught and destroyed. So, by Pandemic Legion. Okay, let's go to forums and skip forums over to Tweet Fleet and see if there's anything going on here. The classic storyline. If you haven't seen that, I recommend it. Let me see. I love this. I know that they have much better visuals now, since these are basically paintings and, just very slight camera moves to make it feel animated, and a little bit of subtitling. But the music and the voice and the story can really draw you in. So I'm going to pop this into YouTube. I'm not going to play it, but I recommend it, and I'm going to put it in the... Oh, where's the... I'm going to put it in Twitch here. Welcome. We're going to switch over in just a minute over to... if you're just arriving, welcome. We're going to switch over to talk about wormholes in just a minute. There. This is a 5-minute video. I think I'm not going to play it because most everybody has seen it. It's the old classic introduction to the storyline of EVE Online. Continuing to look at Tweet Fleet. The summit is just about over, I think. Should be over soon. All right. Well, I don't see anything on Tweet Fleet. It should have looked earlier. That way I could have avoided that. All right. There's stuff on Reddit if you want to visit that. Looks like... Hey, we're making the 20... Our videos are starting to show up here, which is kind of weird. It's like chasing your own tail. Looks like Jinton has a collapse of Deadco video. A lot of Russian stuff again, which is cool. See if we can find our friend. Yeah, well, check it out. That's that. Let's go to... All right. Hi, Tiberius. What's going on?
Hey, how you doing?
We should have a weekly virus report, but we're gonna have to skip that so people don't get aggravated.
True.
All right. Okay, here's the big story today. HK and InnerHell and Laserhawks invades TDSIN. Now, TDSIN is the scary wormhole people, basically, and they're just a huge alliance, and they're also really good at doing the wormhole thing. They live in C5, and they're really too big to defeat for any one of those groups. So all three of them together kind of makes it even. They did attack yesterday. They'd seated over 100 pilots in there, and they're attacking with Munins, which are smaller, faster ships called armor hacks. Are they armor hacks? Or no, they're
shield hacks.
Oh, they are hacks. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty no.
Or are they?
I don't know how they're fitting them.
Yeah. Well, in any case, they're small, fast ships that together can deliver a lot of damage. The problem is that the defenders have a bigger ship that is just as fast, and that is the... Oh, I'm losing the name. What's the big wormhole battleship?
The Lashak?
No, I'm just drawing a blank because I'm too tired. No, it's the Macarial.
The Macarial, that's right. Yeah.
Yes.
That's what they're using.
Yeah, so the Macarials are big and fast too, and they can track well. So that's a really good counter for the defenders to attack this Munin fleet. And so the attackers came in over time, right? They seed the hole, and then they start putting up their siege machines, essentially. Their little battle stations that they can fight from, so they can park and trade equipment and stuff like that. And that is not a fraternity, Astor houses and a Fortizar. The Fortizar went down just now and anchored. So it's successfully anchored. So the siege is on. Now, as a defensive mechanism or move, and an intimidating move, TDSIN brought in some help from other wormhole groups, but also from a nullsec group, the Initiative. Now, the Initiative is famous for raiding Hard Knox's home and destroying everything in it. That happened at the beginning of last year.
Yeah, they Hard Knocks had. I don't know how much truth this is, and whether or not Init was just using this as a propaganda piece in order to justify their means to an end. But supposedly, Init decided to knock them down because they said they're basically unbreachable, and nobody can evict them. So they wanted to prove otherwise, and they brought a 1,500-man fleet in order to completely burn out Rage, quote unquote, which was their the name of their hole.
Yeah, I don't know what the real story was, but that attack was planned like a year in advance. I think this is some footage for it. No, it doesn't look like it is. So that is not wormhole space. Don't know what that was. Anyway, what happened is that HK had some friends or allies that broke off from them in a bitter way, and basically took revenge by setting up over a period of a year this elaborate eviction, and invited basically they had the equipment in place, and it took them a long time to do it, but they gave that, I guess they invited the Initiative to be a part of that, and the Initiative took them up on that offer. So the thing was set up by ex-wormholers for the Initiative, and then Pando, the FC4 Initiative, took his men in there, and then called for reinforcements from the Imperium, so they had even more people in there than they needed. And at that point, you have nullsec with access, with the equipment on the ground, in order to destroy all of Rage, which they did. And at that point, Hard Knocks really had nothing to say about it because they were just completely outnumbered. And their doors were controlled by the invaders. So fast forward to 2 years, and you have InnerHell, sometimes with the help of Hard Knocks and Laserhawks, actually most of the time it seems. And they are evicting everybody in wormhole space that's significant. And this is maybe the last significant group, TDSIN. And they're much bigger than your typical wormhole group and much more capable of fighting. So let me just switch to something that's worth watching. So that is a much bigger target for them, and they joined forces. And so in response, TDSIN basically brought in the initiative. So now you know some of the backstory between HK and the initiative. And so the initiative is helping them out, I think, with a few other members as well. So in return, HK called Fraternity. And Fraternity's fresh from a win in the North, where they were one of the deciding factors that wiped out Dead Coalition recently. And so 300 of their pilots showed up today inside the wormhole system. Actually, I have a link. Let's go to that. They showed up late, so they weren't a big factor this time. But that show of force, again, you can see Fraternity had 305 pilots. And what were they flying? So Fraternity is in, well, a lot of logistics so far. No, they're in Munions as well.
Yeah, they're in Munions and Talawars.
Those are Talawars are destroyers. Again, small ships with a big bite, and 300 of them can do quite a bit of damage quickly, even to large capital ships. The defenders were in, looks like, carriers, because that's their home space. So they built those carriers in those space, and they're able to, or they rolled them in, and they are able to defend with those. And they also had, looks like, some Tempests, I see, and then Macarials. Macarials are your fast battleships. So that fight, there was a fight before the timer for the HK Fortizar, and let me get some information on that.
I think this was the fight for the Fortizar vulnerability timer. I think that's what this was here.
I think
I could be completely off base.
Yeah, I think the Fortizar fight ended up being uncontested because they fought earlier and realized they didn't have the numbers. So.
Oh, okay.
But it was hours apart because the Fortizar really just went up a few minutes ago. The fight that happened at like 4 a.m. So that happened 4 hours ago. So there was a fight that happened recently. Let's see, I can read this here. Attackers infilled a Munin fleet early this morning. Early this morning is 4 hours ago, or 4.5 hours ago. Defenders noticed and warped to the hole. Brawl happened. Fraternity connected through a frig hole. That's a frigate-sized hole. In the static, kind of blued with the attackers. So, but they were shooting everyone. But I think they were called in by HK. Ended up being a nice little fight. Without a doubt, the timer will be ridiculous.
Yeah, so that'll be, I don't know exactly when the timer is going to be. It should be Sunday since they started it yesterday. So the armor timer will come down today. And then depending upon when the timer actually was and when they started it, it should roll over. It typically rolls over 48 hours after, but the minimum time is 36 hours. So if they got their timings down correctly, then it should be at a minimum 36 hours from, like, say, whenever the armor timer comes down. So I don't know when that fight's going to be. Should be today, and considering they're a U.S. time zone, my guess is that it's between 6 and 9 p.m. Eastern, but I have no idea how Itsuki time zone tanked his structures.
Ooh, thank you. Who was it that gave me that? Ixion Mace. This is the article I was looking for. A year-long undercover plot to blow up Eve's most notorious space station. This is referring to what we talked about earlier with Hard Knock's home being eviscerated by the initiative. So there's a little bit of bad blood, sort of. What's interesting too is it's not just bad blood between the initiative and Hard Knocks. In fact, they probably even forgot about it, or not forgot, but forgave. It's that when HK was being attacked by Nullsec, that represented a bigger theme. Wormholers were being dominated by Nullsec, and that angered a lot of wormholers. Even people that didn't like HK came to defend them, but it wasn't enough. And so that structure went down. So that was the first time we really saw Nullsec invade wormhole space, and they didn't like it very much. And this is now we're starting to see that wormhole groups have connections and relationships with Nullsec, and that gives them extra manpower. And that's what we're seeing in this fight. And that's why this next fight is a continuation of that story, that Nullsec is helping out. And
it's gonna get hot tonight.
How's it going, Killer B?
How's it going? I'm doing good.
Are you in there too, Northern Coalition?
I'll see tonight. Looks like a lot of people are going. It has logged off some people. I think Test is probably Test made a big ping about something weird. Friday night extravaganza is what they call it. So I'm assuming they're going there as well.
Test as well?
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like, if they can get in, that is, right? So At this point, for this fight tonight in USDC, it's all about hold control. And right now, it seems like HK have that established quite well. So if HK don't want Test to come in, they can just keep them out if they do if they play the hold control well. So it's a matter of, can HK now maintain hold control until tonight? Right, until the timer, which is at it's like 01:56, so basically 0200 ETH time.
Yeah.
So some ways, just so you're familiar with some of the tactics they do, what he means by keeping Hulk. There's a strategy that wormholers can use if they're competent enough, and you had forward thinking. You can use victorious luxury yachts. With a oversized prop mod, and if you send 5 or 6 at a time through the hull and back, you can put mass on the hull and mess up their mass calculations in order to quote unquote door stop a hull. Door stopping just means that you have a ship ready to roll the hull on the other side in case somebody jumps through, so that they maintain the hull control. So putting the yachts through is a really good way of running interference with them, having them mess up, losing the hull, and then a fight can break out, and then the other side can gain whole control of the static.
I think that's very interesting. I haven't done any wormhole mechanics. It's kind of funny this is happening now, because I've recently started looking into wormhole mechanics a bit more closely. Not necessarily just wormhole mechanics, but wormhole tactics and wormhole PvP, and how to evict people and stuff like that. So this is a nice opportunity for me to get a bit of a closer look at it.
You taking some notes while you're in there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously talking to people, and they're very open. I asked it in TIS public a couple of days ago. Started asking around, and then one of the main SCs of Hard Knocks actually came up and was like, "Hey, if you have any questions about wormholes, I can help you out." And we've been talking since, and he kind of invited me to this eviction tonight. I'm not sure if I'm going to bring NC yet or just go by myself, but I'll definitely attend.
Victor's a really nice guy. He's a good FC and a good pilot.
Sounds cool. This weekend, Killer B, as long as you're here, we want to review the end of the Northern campaign.
It's the final weekend. 4 more actually.
On
4 more
Saturday,
keep stars are going to die.
Is that on Saturday?
And it's on Saturday and Sunday, I think. Let me check the timer, but it's going to be a total of 4 more keep stars that we're going to kill, and that puts the total of this campaign up to 9, which, by the way, is the record.
Wow, really?
So, yeah, even
that's more than
than goons killed when they glassed the north, so to say.
Interesting.
So we now hold the record for the most killed keep stars during one campaign. If you want to count it that way.
Well, that's
yeah,
what
it's two on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, by the way.
Okay, so they're splitting them up. That's what we're going to talk about this weekend on the Proper Talking in Stations show. We're going to review that war.
Looks like fresh news that I also just received is that most of the remainers of whatever GOTG has left is joining Initiative Mercenaries. So it looks like GOTG is basically obviously Siberian Squad is already left for Legacy / Fire. RR and most of the Chinese people went to Imperium, and everything that is left seems to be joining Initiative now. So that basically means that the coalition is now dead.
Yeah,
completely.
Interesting. So where did Darkness go? They went into Initiative?
No, well, Darkness is an alliance. Sword Dragon announced that he was going to disband Darkness,
Right.
so depends on the co-ops where they go.
Oh, so they could be going anywhere. All right. I thought
Darkness as itself is not going anywhere. Darkness is getting disbanded, and the corps are going wherever they want to go.
Cool. Well, we'll save some stuff for Sunday. I want to go through it carefully. There's one last thing I want to talk about today, which is kind of interesting. I think it's going to pique people's interest, and I hope it gets fixed before. Oh, do we have an Eve Pulse? We might have an Eve Pulse before we leave. It just came out. Let me put that here. And that is a stiletto that is able to lock unlockable things. And this was brought to my attention from a friend, but he gave some battle reports. Let's see if I can pop some of those up.
Do you know where Resilience is going, Killa?
No.
Oh, January.
I don't even know who Brazilians are, to be honest. I'm sorry.
It's Swords Dragon. It's Swords Dragon's Corp.
Oh, no, I have no idea.
All right, so this guy here, is it him or this guy here? These are a couple kills. I'm going to look into this, but this guy is able to lock and kill some things that are just, I think he's able to lock so fast that the server tick doesn't even happen before he locks.
That has been around for a while.
Oh.
There is a script, so that's something that a lot of gate campers use. It's something that CCP, I'm sure they are somewhat aware of. I'm probably sure that's been reported at some point, but there's a script that you can run that basically starts locking the target before it. So when you decloak a ship after jumping through a gate, right? The server recognizes the ship as decloaked before it shows up in your overview. And with the script, you can basically start locking the second the server recognizes the ship as decloaked. And that's a very little split second before you can actually see it on your overview. But that split second is enough to be able to point stuff that's supposed to be unpointable.
So it's a script. Is that considered fair then?
No. That would be bannable. It isn't a bannable offense, but I'm fairly certain. Like, I don't know if it's a script. Like, I am not a very technical guy, right? So I'm not entirely sure what exactly it is. Some kind of program, script or whatever. But that's been around for a while. But it has never really gotten a lot of attention. So probably nobody cares, right? At CCP. Because nobody, like, there's very niche cases where people get affected by it, and most people don't even notice. They just think, looks like I didn't warp up fast enough. But when you're in an inti that warps at below 2 seconds, technically you should be unpointable, because it is impossible to lock somebody and point somebody in 2 server ticks. But with that script you can, and then you notice, and then you could report it. But again, not important enough, so probably not getting addressed yet.
Okay. Well, anyway, so it exists. There are people that can nab you before you can get out, regardless of what ship you're in. Because if you can't get out in a less than 2 seconds interceptor, you can't get out in anything.
Really, yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's the thing, yeah.
Okay, cool. Thanks for telling me. I was going to have to figure out what that was. But so it's been around, you know about it, and it's usually gate campers that use it.
Yeah, it's a very I don't want to say it's a common thing among gate campers, because then every gate camper group is going to be considered, scripting or cheating. But I am a person, I love gate camping, and I've done a lot of gate camping, and I've come across it in my gate camping career, right? So I'm not saying I used it, but
You know,
I am also not saying that there was certainly people. There may have been people part of my gate camps. I've been in multiple and various gate camps and various alliances that may or may not have used that script or something, whatever it is, right? So
yeah.
yeah.
All right, CCP, fix this.
I did report it once. I was told they were looking into it, blah blah blah. Nothing happened, right? So I didn't bother reporting it again. Because when you get that kind of default, answer, I know it's not like, I don't blame CCP for it necessarily. It's just because if it's not a problem to a lot of people, they usually don't have the time to divert they can't divert any dev time into a problem like that.
Yeah.
And then it just comes down to banning the people that use it, but it's such a small pool. Compare botting, how many people bot in Eve to how many people run that script. It's probably not even 1%, right? It's probably, and then I agree. Like, I think that it's more important that CCP focuses on banning the botters than banning the, I don't know, 10 people in TQ that use that script on gate camps.
Or the account stealers. That's even worse.
Yeah, I'm happy that it didn't happen to me yet, but that would unironically make me sad in real life if my EVE accounts get stolen. Really only Killer B. The rest of the characters I don't care about too much, but Killer B, that would be really bad.
Yeah, so that's their first priority. Second priority is botters because they destabilize the income and incentives. And then later down the list, you get these kind of guys that snag a ship here and there at gate camps. But anyway, interesting. So there are things out there that are still really scary. All right, cool. So we're going to probably Monday or probably Sunday too, we're going to talk about what's going on with the wormhole fight that's happening. Pando, the FC from the initiatives in here in chat, and he's a part of that, I think. At least initiative is. But we're definitely going to focus on Killer B and the Northern campaign and how that war is now over.
Yeah, wrapping it up. We're going home after this, finally. God bless.
I thought you had a deployment you were looking forward to.
Yeah, but that seems to be fizzling out a bit. Unfortunately, some things didn't fall into place as much as I liked. But I have another thing in mind now. I actually came up with an idea like a week ago that has me super excited. I haven't been working this much EVE stuff in a long, long time. I'm going to announce that soon, at least for NC people. And then obviously, if some people care, they can probably figure out what it is.
You putting the pieces together?
Yeah. And I'm going to do that once we're back home. I'm going to start kicking that project up, and hopefully it'll, get some attention within NCNPL. It's going to be an NCPL thing. Like I said, I have been really bored in 0-0 for the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I think I want to try this. Even if it fails, it's fine, because I need to try this. Because I think this is like one of my last hopes to get my EVE spark back a bit, right? Because I've lost my spark for EVE a little bit over the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't really care about anything anymore. I was a bit sad when we lost Tribute because I conquered it, but that was really the last thing I cared about all that much. And to be fair, it feels pretty good kicking Sword out and killing his coalition. I'm not gonna lie, even though I wasn't really involved in that, but still, that feels pretty good.
Well,
but apart from that,
you didn't take Tribute back, but you did take the 3 northern regions above it.
I think it's mostly going to be rented out by FRT. I'm not sure, though, to be honest. I have no idea what the plans for those regions are. And we have certainly no interest in holding any of it. We're going, once we're done with Decline, hopefully this weekend, pretty much guaranteed this weekend, we're going to, it's a very long way back home, so we're doing like a gradual move back. We're going to move back to our Tino Keepstar, give everybody a couple of days to get all their shit together in that Keepstar, and then we'll do like one big move up back home the weekend after or something like that,
Well, Fraternity has really come out.
Yeah, I'm surprised how well. Like, I'm really excited that they took the defeat, the big defeat, quote unquote, so well, right? They got kicked out of their space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they're hardly phased.
Yeah, exactly. They just been kicking ass ever since then, basically. Their numbers are amazing. This afternoon, obviously, you saw the Wormhole Brawl Part 1, where they've the fight was over the Hard Knocks Fortizar onlining, right? In the staging wormhole of TDSIN or whatever the ticker is. Mm-hmm. That is a terrible ticker. And FRT had like a huge fleet. They had like 160 Talvars and then like another 200 units on top of that or something like that. It was insane.
Wow.
So yeah, FRT is strong right now, really strong.
Yeah, well, we'll cover that thoroughly this weekend. Looking forward to it. I think that I'm going to wrap up now because I need to get going. But if you want to hang out and talk in Talking in Stations Discord, we're always around. So hop in there and get more of this kind of thing, but just not streamed. Pando, thanks for showing up. Pando says, yeah, it was a shame that Naros helped the wormhole blue donut types. Maybe he was paid. Who knows? It was interesting to see Fraternity in there. Like what connection he has to Hard Knocks or Fraternity, what Naros has to Hard Knocks is unclear. We'll have to see. Thank you, everybody. We're going to raid. Let's have a look here. Well, I guess Marquis Dragon. We'll get more on these stories this weekend on the Sunday show, and then we'll see you probably Monday. Although I'm thinking of taking a break. You guys tell me in comments on YouTube and in Discord if the Today in EVE Online is something you like listening to. Because I'm ready to take a break. I got some other priorities I want to focus on. No announcements yet on whether we'll continue or not. For now, everything stays the same. But let me know. I want to know if you guys are enjoying this. Thanks. And we'll see you guys Monday.